We've learned a lot about our minds, how they work, think, and function. So, what do psychologists do with all of this knowledge? They apply them to different sorts of therapies to help clients overcome psychological struggles. How effective is psychotherapy? Well, there are many debates, but whether therapy is effective in helping patients is not one of them. There are lots of studies that show that different psychotherapies help patients manage their psychological symptoms. No one therapy has been proven to be more effective than others. In fact, patients are able to decide what form of therapy might be the right fit for them. Therapists use the best research available and their clinical judgment in combination with the needs and background of the client to figure out what might be right for them. Let's check out what kinds of therapies you can choose from. There are two big picture approaches to therapy. One focuses on insight versus symptoms and skill development. A therapist might work to understand where the problem comes from rather than focusing on the patient's immediate symptoms that are causing the problem. The second is directive versus non-directive. A directive treatment is when the therapist drives the conversation, giving direct advice to the client. Non-directive is when the client drives the interaction. There are four main types of therapy. The first that we're going to explore is called the psychodynamic therapy. The unconscious mind and early childhood experiences are super important in understanding a person's current psychological issues in this style of treatment. Psychoanalysis, a kind of psychodynamic therapy, is a technique developed by Freud. Therapists focus a lot on latent sexual desire and use dreams to interpret what might be going on in the unconscious mind of the client. This is called dream analysis. The next kind of therapy is the humanistic theory. We can use the metaphor of a tomato plant to understand the main principles of this kind of treatment. If you plant a tomato seed in rich soil, give it sunlight and rain, it will grow hundreds of beautiful, delicious tomatoes. People are encouraged to look deeply in themselves, learn more about who they are, and grow. Therapists help to show the patient their own capacity for self-healing by focusing on conscious rather than unconscious thought. Humanistic therapy was created by Carl Rogers and is a client-centered therapy where the therapist provides a warm, supportive atmosphere. Rogers wanted clients to be able to understand their true feelings about themselves so they can become more congruent, which means bringing who they are today closer to who they want to be. One way to achieve this goal is through reflective speech and active listening. Reflective speech is when a therapist repeats back what the client is saying in a way that the client can hear themselves. For example, if someone is crying because they got into an argument with a coworker, the therapist might say, "You sound upset." Behavior therapy is another style of treatment that, unlike psychodynamic and humanistic therapy, is not an insight therapy. This style of therapy isn't interested in where behavior comes from. Instead, they offer action-oriented steps to help people change what they aren't happy with. One technique used in behavioral therapy that helps to treat anxiety is called systematic desensitization. It shows the client how to link deep relaxation to stressful situations. Let's say a client has a phobia of clowns. First, the therapist will ask the client to list all of the things they find scary about a particular interaction with the clown. Then the therapist will teach the client how to relax their body by releasing tension in their muscles. Next, the therapist will ask the client to imagine the least scary part of the interaction with the clown while the client's body is still relaxed, gradually ramping up to the most scary part. Maybe the client would start by going into the same room as the clown, approach the clown, and then touch the clown, etc. Behavior therapy also uses operant conditioning techniques that help people unlearn negative behavior. Just as bad behavior is learned, it can be unlearned. Because this style of therapy doesn't encourage the patient to gain insight or awareness, it is often a great fit for clients with cognitive disabilities like autism, for example. The last style of therapy is called cognitive therapy. Here, therapists think that thoughts, also called cognitions, are the main reason for psychological issues. They believe if you can change your thoughts, then you can change your behavior. It's a more directive style of therapy. Sometimes thoughts are so rapid or automatic that it's hard for a client to be aware of them. First, you have to figure out what the exact thought is. Then, replace that thought with a healthy thought. For example, if the thought is, "I'm going to be alone forever," because you recently ended a relationship, you could replace the thought with, "That relationship wasn't working for me, and I'm thankful that I'm available for the right person." This kind of active thought adjustment is called cognitive restructuring. There's also a style of therapy that combines cognitive and behavior therapies called, you guessed it, cognitive behavior therapy. Therapists are more directive. They might work to understand what the automatic thoughts for the client are and what feelings might cause those thoughts. They'll work to change the thoughts, which changes the behaviors that are connected to them. If you were to start going to therapy, what style do you think would suit you?